Okay, Abusia be makwaba shonko so edeba Ghana Politics Avenue so Abusia yembonra yensemu after say ye approve ye Paul Baffoe as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court na Abusia wa she ninjuma asisi anom oba be implement a new policy na say ye de a fast track and say ye de a prosecute a NPP criminals no and after sesa and some way eba be to jano abusia NPP for and as NPP criminals are omo case e wo court no abusia edi ehu bi ababeto omo so a ebusia enye asam keto akra yensem mo me yanko na yenkonkoti ensema ekọ so unsubscribe here subscribe like and share ma afofron so ensa into me enkabi Ghana Politics Avenue so medamase.
Let's hear from the minority leader Alexander Penyoma King during the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee and why the minority did not take part in the vetting. Take a look.
To you to proceed whilst we exit this committee room with our views well documented for the records, and on the floor we shall proceed with the debate, further stating our position and take a vote against the nominee as required by the rules of the plenary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minority Leader.
What's the justification? Although the Speaker had ruled on this matter, but the minority was still of the view that to the extent that there are a number of cases in court, it will just only be prudent in their view to have these matters heard before a new Chief Justice is appointed. Why did you disagree?
There's no justification in law or in parliamentary practice. If you recall, myself, I challenged the constitutionality of a presidential decision sometime last year, when in February the president woke up, I believe it was 14th of February, Valentine's Day, and dismissed several of his ministers in a sweeping statement with immediate effect and wished them well. And then in the same release, sought to reshuffle ministers that he had pronounced them terminated. So I thought that was quite interesting, constitutionally speaking, because if you terminate the appointment of someone, the person was no longer available to be reshuffled. You have power to reappoint the person, but my position in law was that nomination, that appointment, ought to be subject to parliamentary pre-approval processes. Yeah. So I sued. And I brought an injunction to injunct the vetting process. The Supreme Court told me that, well, yes, it may be before us seeking interpretation of what has happened, constitutionality or otherwise, but we cannot injunct a constitutional body, a constitutional organ of state, such as Parliament, from performing its constitutional functions. So to that extent, my prayer for an injunctive relief in the interim was refused. So the vetting went on. And they went to occupy office until the election came and they left. So the precedents have been set. The law is trite. That a mere filing of a process before the court you can't call on the court to injunct a constitutional body or an organ of state from performing its functions. Otherwise, any busybody can file a process before the Supreme Court and ask the Supreme Court to injunct. So even the executive can be injuncted from even preparing, undertaking its constitutional duties. And our brothers knew this. And yet, they sought to find a backdoor to ventilate this matter and harp on it. They actually brought a motion to Parliament to, as it were, injunct Parliament, to ask Parliament to decline proceeding with the vetting of Justice Baffoe. Speaker went through the conditions of admissibility and found that the motion was inadmissible, and issued a declaration to that effect. They still decided to hash the terms of the motion paper into a press statement sort of, and brought it before the committee. So this was where we had this agreement. And the terms were, a lot of the phrases employed in the press statement were so prejudicial. Some were even going to the infradig of the CJ nominee. And we thought it was unfair.
Right.
So this is where we disagreed. So eventually they left. But they came back to the floor when we were adopting the reports to actually remake all these points. So we went through with the vetting. CJ, I believe, will be one of the most impactful CJs, even though his time will be a bit short. But the policy outlines that he has, matters that he spoke to in terms of reforms, are very, very forward-looking. For instance, we have situations at the magisterial level where I asked him that the issue of the career magistrates, where they are not paid for the equal work, they are not paid the same wages for the equal work that they do with the professional magistrates. And asked him whether he will consider bringing that program back and making it better. He says yes. Because we are not getting lawyers to join the lowest level of the bench. So the agreement is that he will bring it back. People are struggling to enter law school. They have the LLBs all over. But they are not getting admission to enter law school. So that could be an avenue for people to train and be magistrates. And also there are opportunities for you to go through the ranks and rise through the ranks all the way to the highest level. And that will be the difference.
To man the district courts, magistrate courts.
Yes, because you see, the district courts, he makes the point that, for instance, he's promoted about 45 to the circuit. Circuit judges have also been promoted to the high court. So if you put them together, there is an opening for about 115 magistrates. But you won't get 115 lawyers or more applying to fill those as magistrates. So you need other source of training to bring in the necessary arbitrators, magistrates to be able to handle matters at the level. And we have a lot of district courts. So you have one magistrate, for instance, in Peki, he may be doing relieving in Amfuega or relieving in Panto. You understand? So when he's able to introduce this, it will help. Then two, reforms in terms of legal education. If you are aware, you know that I've been in the forefront fighting that the legal present system of training should be improved.
Exactly.
So it's also for it. It's for the reforms. When the bill comes and it's passed, it's going to champion the implementation. And it will give the law school as it is now in Makola the opportunity to also train, introduce other programs. You know what our judges, when they are appointed, if you want to train academically to acquire additional academic degrees, you have to, either you do it here or you have to be sent abroad, LLM in a lot of the specialized areas. The law school will have the opportunity to do that. It will be a source of revenue earner. The Judicial Training Institute too, we have had discussions, and I think that it should be turned into an academy, like it is in India, where judges, they are awarded academic qualifications for the training that they do, and it will become a model training, judicial training institute in the sub-region that can serve the Commonwealth, other Commonwealth regions in West Africa as well as on the continent and elsewhere. So then judges reforms at the appellate level. The Court of Appeal now sits zonally. The regions have been zoned and they sit. Part of the reforms is that, for instance, if Kofi has a matter before the Court of Appeal which sits in Kufuor for the Volta and Eastern Zone, he may not necessarily have to travel to Kufuor to be heard. He's introducing virtual platforms where Kofi can sit. Maybe a courtroom will be designated in Accra. He goes to stand before that. Two, reforms in terms of legal education. If you are aware, you know that I've been in the forefront fighting that the legal present system of training should be improved.
Exactly.
So it's also for it. It's for the reforms. When the bill comes and it's passed, it's going to champion the implementation. And it will give the law school as it is now in Makola the opportunity to also train other programs. You know our judges, when they are appointed, if you want to train academically to acquire additional academic degrees, you have to, either you do it here or you have to be sent abroad, LLM in a lot of the specialized areas. The law school will have the opportunity to do that. It will be a source of revenue earner. The Judicial Training Institute too, we have had discussions, and I think that it should be turned into an academy, like it is in India, where judges, they are awarded academic qualifications for the training that they do, and it will become a model training, judicial training institute in the sub-region that can serve the Commonwealth, other Commonwealth regions in West Africa as well as on the continent and elsewhere. So then judges' reforms at the appellate level. The Court of Appeal now sits zonally. The regions have been zoned and they sit. Part of the reforms is that, for instance, if Kofi has a matter before the Court of Appeal which sits in Akuffo for the Volta and Eastern Zone, he may not necessarily have to travel to Akuffo to be heard. He's introducing virtual platforms where Kofi can sit. Maybe a courtroom will be designated in Accra. He goes to stand before that court and speak to the screen, and the judges may also not be virtually sitting in Akuffo. But meanwhile, that is the Eastern Appellate Court of Appeal panel. They could be in their chambers and listen to arguments. So we are, a lot of this will bring reform. It will also check the issue of judges knowing people, but so it will reduce the human interface. Then second, the panel will also be sitting, I think, rotationally. So that you have a Court of Appeal panel that can sit in the morning, another panel will sit in the afternoon or in the evening when we are using a virtual space. So cases will be more rapidly heard and disposed of. You understand? So the CJ has some lofty ideas, and I believe that he has the opportunity to implement them, especially because government is committed to also supporting.
He has 1 year.
Projects.
He has 1 year.
Yeah, but these are doable.
All this doable within 1 year?
Yes, these are doable. It's a matter of policy directives. That, for instance, once the legal reform bill is passed, and I'm hoping that we'll pass it before December, before we go on recess in December. If it's done, the implementation begins in January. You understand? And that is done. And the career magistrates program can also be implemented. The reforms can be introduced and implemented in January.
Right.
It's all about executing the policies and ensuring that they are implemented. And they have some good figures in the budget to support these reforms because they are anticipated. Then housing for the judges will continue from where the past government left off, to offer housing accommodation for judges so they are more comfortable. Now the model court houses that we are building, it comes with accommodation for the judge. The judges don't struggle to look for accommodation wherever they are transferred to. So things are really looking good with the kind of policies that he wants to introduce.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Bento, on this, because of the position that the minority had, in fact, the reason why they walked out.
Yes, and if I may ask permission to leave your presence, because we have the post-budget
it's a fair point.
And
please.
Speaker is about to...
There'll be free food and booze. Why don't you invite
Okay.
Zato,
Am I invited?
Zato, come as a facilitator.
Nelson Rossi, the report is Majority Chief Whip, MP for Southern. Thank you for coming. Mr. Bento.
Yeah. So let's say this generally. I was very happy when Justice Eni Yeboah became the Chief Justice. The reason why I was very happy was because Justice Eni Yeboah did all his schooling in Ghana, most of it, and went to local schools also, that kind of thing, and he was such a high-quality judge. He rose through the ranks and became a CJ. And it made me proud that we could produce somebody like that here. Myself, I've had most of my education in Ghana, and I believe it's a testament to what is possible, you know, if we put our minds to do something. And Chief Justice Baffoe Bonny is that type. Solid judge. You won't find anybody who really has massive problems with Chief Justice Baffoe Bonny. We've all gone before him and had little situations here and there. I have been before him recently on a number of occasions, and I wasn't too happy, but that's the nature of the game. But my respect for him remains intact, which is why I am really pained. It really hurts me that the ascent of a man who has paid his dues to this extent should be shaded by the situation surrounding it. And on this platform, I have said, look, process is process. There are two types of justice: procedural justice and substantive justice. The process by which justice is delivered is by itself also justice. And we have said that, look, dispose of the matters concerning the previous Chief Justice, Tokono. She has issues. She's filed them in a proper court, properly so. Please, sit over it, deal with it, dispose of it. You have about 4 or so cases which have not been disposed of. And look, it may seem esoteric or whatever, but it is important that technically people should know that if her removal was wrong, her reinstatement in principle is possible in law.
If her removal was wrong,
yes,
the reinstatement is possible
in law,
in law.
Because it's public office. Okay, so you see, these things, somebody will say, oh, she herself is not asking to come back. And the principles are important. And I was telling somebody that, look, she as Chief Justice and who was the person overseeing all of the justice system, if she was being dealt the bad hand in terms of the justice system procedures, she's the one who has to fight it. Okay, so for me, it really is a stain on the system that the issues she raised have not been disposed of, yet we have overreached and we've come for her to do this. Okay, and the unfortunate part of it is that it is Justice Baffoe Bonny who it shades. This man who has paid his dues, look at the number of years he has spent as a Supreme Court Justice. Who has heard anything about him? And like he himself told you, he transcends, governments, all right? And then he has to have this cloud over him, okay? So that really is my pain. But look, my respect for Justice Baffoe Bonny is intact. I wish he ascended in a cloud of glory, so we all look and say, look, this is what we have produced in this country. This is what is possible. It is possible for a person to live between regimes, even military regimes, do his job, do it so well that he ascends to the very top of his game. All that being said, like we said, he has a year. With that man's experience, if anybody knows what is wrong with our system, he does. But look, I disagree with those who think he can change everything in a year. He can't. But this is what he can do. He can set the course. He can set the course for the reforms that we need. And he said some of those things. Look, we are at a point where it doesn't make sense for us to do justice delivery the way it was done 100 years ago. One of the ways, and these paradigms, because they are so hardened in our system, it's difficult for us to break out of them. A paradigm like you have to go to a court to be heard. Today in the US and in many other countries, developed countries, in fact, not only developed countries, India and other places, they do it. You don't have to go to a court to be heard. The Supreme Court does hearings over the phone. And it's public. Everybody can dial in and hear the arguments. All right? In Ghana, when the courts are on vacation, we do virtual hearings. I sit in my office, and the judges are in their office, and the other lawyers in their office. We all connect Zoom, Teams, and we do it. So the paradigm is hardened in us that you have to go to a court to be heard. It is no longer true. And the truth of the matter is that justice will be better delivered if we move quicker into these areas. Already we've started. This is what Justice Baffoe Bonny can do. He can move us, set the course for us to move faster in that direction and do the justice delivery. The African Court just talked about the appeals court, etc. It does not make sense that I have to travel to be heard. We all have to have an arrangement where when you have a case, you can opt to be in court, or if you cannot be in court, opt to do it virtually, including the judges. We will do more cases that way. There are a number of things, even now, that we need to deal with, all right? You have a situation today, okay, where lawyers have to speak and wait for somebody to type it verbatim. in this day and age when my phone can do transcription and it messes with your mind, he can do something about that because the technology is there. In fact, they have some of the equipment even around. He can ensure that that thing is done. So we are happy to help him with that. Okay.
Right.
Now you have a situation today, and he mentioned it. Electronic service of processes. There is no reason why we shouldn't do that now. The technology is there. The reasons are there, everything is clear. If Martin has a matter in court, it should be possible to serve Martin by email and for him to also file by email. We have the software to do it. Why not? He should set the cost to do it. Today, every lawyer in this country has a number. Okay, that number, I've spoken to some of the people involved, can easily be converted to an email so that you have an official martin2120@gba.org, and we can use that as service in the course. What I'm saying is that we need to move hard into technology, and he, Justice Baffoe, is speaking to it. For me, in the 1 year that he has, he can leave a legacy by setting us on a hard path towards that. Okay, and make sure that he is the Chief Justice who turned around the transformation.
Perfect.
Okay, so
But
concerning
all of this reform, we'll have to take a certain framework, for instance, because with what you have just indicated, which is long overdue, electronic servicing or serving of processes, the framework guiding the implementation would also have to be thought through,
there.
so that
it's already there. In fact, we have amended CI 47 to admit electronic service of processes. Today, as we speak, we do video. Like I said, when we are on holidays, when the courts are on break, I sit in my office, the judges come online, we all go in, we use Teams. Every lawyer knows this thing. So we are doing it now. We just have to mainstream it. Okay, and let me tell you something. Look, the biggest problem of judicial or justice system in Ghana is the judicial service. It is not lawyers or judges. It is bailiffs and process management and all those things. And there are very good people in the judicial service. I know some of them. They really work hard. The kind of paperwork they have to process. But there are some really bad nuts in that system. And I'm telling you, those who are resisting the reform are the ones benefiting from the current mess.
Okay.
And we should go up against them. So I'm simply saying all these things are already there. The emails, there. The online systems, they are there. We just have to make sure that, look, now it is not maybe we will do it. Justice Baffoe set us on a hard path. If I have a case in WA, it should be possible for me to opt, even if I have to pay for it, to do it online.
perfect.
This is the future. Start it now.
Great point. Thank you. On this.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good to have a new, for lack of a better way, let me say, a new sheriff in town, a new CJ, right? Yeah. So let's see.
The focus is what can be done within this 1 year. Really, what do you expect within this 1 year?
Oh yes, a lot of reforms, a lot, and where Kofi ended. Let me start from that place. The number one thing I expect is the process 7. You see, Kofi said the service is a problem. The process 7. So when you take a case to court, okay, there are officers who have to deliver those documents. So let's say, so can say you sue Professor Jampo for $10 million, right? Now, when you file the case in court, there's an officer who has to take that document. So when we say process, we simply mean the documents that are filed in court. Anything filed. So writ of summons is a process. Application for injunction is a process. So forgive me if I forget to say process. It just means a document filed in court. But I'll try not to use the word process. Okay. Yeah, so those documents have to be served on Professor Jampo. So there's that officer who has to go and give it to Professor Jampo. The numbers are hugely inadequate. Infinitesimal, let me use that word, compared to the number of cases in court. So the first line of reforms has to do with serving the court documents. We need a huge increase. Yes, some are saying the technology thing. We should do hybrid so that you pay. Let's do hybrid because yes, because there are a lot of lawyers who are still BBC, born before computer.
You should change.
No, this is not a forum. We cannot. No, some are old. So look, some is age and the rest. So let's not go there. That's why I said let's. So if you don't convert, if you are not computer compliant, then you pay for it. I think that would be better. So the huge thing, even I don't want to add any other thing. Okay. If Justice Baffoe CJ can reform the bailiff system, there are thousands of unemployed graduates, etc., that we can employ. If he does that alone, for me, of course, judicial integrity, those ones are constant. But in terms of increasing the number of process servers, if he's able to overhaul that system so that we don't have that artificial shortage, which is breeding corruption. It's breeding corruption because the numbers are too few. So you always have to try and get the bailiff on your side. You have to increase that. Oh, no. It's terrible. I don't want to talk because I can see we've run out of time. So CJ Baffoe, please, if you do the bailiff system alone, you are done.
Thank you. And I'll share the last couple of minutes between Dr. Zato.
Okay, Ozia, we need ensema ekoso our political highway so Paul Baffoe and I de ne honsem e de brema ne nneoma bia or babeye ewo judicial system no and I say ye court system no abusuya asheki NPP criminal appointees enye asem keswa kora bedam ase some jepene kokotis and some we e de mi aha Ghana politics avenue so bedam ase